Hello, welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast, the official podcast of filmpulse.net. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode number 174. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we have Kevin Rakestraw. How you doing, Kevin?
Pretty good.
Is it hot there?
Oh my god, it's so hot.
It is so brutal here. Unbelievably brutal. It's like 100 degrees.
I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
I had to do laundry today, and just me walking around the block to the laundromat, which is very, very, very close to my apartment. I was like drenched in sweat.
I was just at a baseball game. So.
Oh man, those are always.
The sun just makes me want to go to sleep.
Yeah, it just drains you.
I just want to sleep.
Well, this week we're gonna be talking about three movies. We're gonna be doing three reviews. We'll be having Film Pulse contributor Ernie Trinidad back on the show to talk about Ant-Man. And then we're also going to be talking about the documentary The Wolfpack, which is now available on iTunes, and that's still playing in select cities. And we'll also be talking about Alleluia, which I believe is also available on VOD right now. And that is I'll call it a thriller, it's a French-Belgian thriller.
Okay, yeah.
Directed by Fabrice Duelts.
Oh, man. You get so good at that.
Got all kinds of fun stuff lined up this week. We'll also be going over something we've been watching along with movie predictions, new on VOD, Blu-ray releases, all that fun stuff. Let's go ahead and just jump right into our first review. Let's go ahead and get Ernie on the line and talk about some Ant-Man. All right, let's talk about some Ant-Man. Ernie Trinidad, welcome back on the show. How you doing, sir?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain. Let's just jump right into it. This is directed by Peyton Reed. I have a synopsis here. Armed with a super suit with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, conman Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, plan and pull off a heist that will save the world. The stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and Corey Stoll. There's a whole bunch of people in this movie, though. Bobby Cannavale's in there, Judy Greer, Michael Pena, T.I. is in there. I don't think I knew that he was in that before I saw it. And then a lot of cameos from different Marvel Studios people. So now, Ernie, you have.
I think it's safer to just say just other appearances from the MCU. I think.
Yeah.
It's just one big happy family now.
Yeah. Yep. We see Peggy Carter's in there and some other ones.
And some others.
That we won't spoil until the spoiler section. We are going to do a spoiler section on this one because there's a lot of Easter eggs and things to talk about with this movie. Now, Ernie, you have a review up on the site, so I'm going to start this off. I liked Ant-Man quite a bit. I kind of figured I would. I like pretty much everything that Marvel Studios has done, and I remember when they were first putting out these movies, and every single one of them I was kind of like nervously anticipating because I never knew if it was going to be good or not. But now Marvel Studios has won me over so that no matter what the movie is, I'm excited for it. Like I'm confident that it'll be good. And with Ant-Man, even with the whole Edgar Wright debacle with him leaving the film and all of this stuff, and they weren't sure because there was like a whole bunch of directors that they were approaching and stuff before they went with Peyton Reed or before he agreed to do it.
Right.
I was still pretty confident in this movie, and I'm very happy to say that I had a great time with it. I don't think it's the best Marvel Studios film, but I appreciated that it was a much smaller scale than an Avengers movie where essentially this is a heist film, and I loved that. I loved that aspect. I like the fact that Marvel's trying different things with their properties. Like you don't have to do a typical giant, enormous, epic superhero movie with these larger-than-life heroes, destroying cities. You don't have to do that. You can make it on a smaller scale. And
Right. It's basically like even taking account the Netflix series that just started, because the last two Marvel films are Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, which really have nothing to do with Avengers, and they pretty much established that there's a world out there and there are things that go on that don't have to be about the Avengers and what they're doing.
Right.
There are things on the side going on, these little things that are going on, and just like you were saying, that they just your trepidations about what they're about to turn out. I mean, who would have thought a movie with a raccoon with an attitude and a tree that only says 3 words would have been one of the best films last year?
Right.
And then you're thinking, well, Guardians was great, so, well, let's see what they do with Ant-Man. And I was going and feeling the same way. It's like, could Ant-Man be that movie that breaks their streak? But lo and behold, ever since Avengers, the first Avengers movie, every single Marvel movie they turned out was actually really good to great. It's like, now it makes me even look more forward to the properties that have yet to be introduced down the road, now that they're going into phase 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I agree. Now, this is more of a comedy, I would say, than their other films.
It's very definitely even funnier than what Guardians was.
Yeah. I mean, I laughed quite a bit in this film. I had a really good time with it. And I think that it's arguably the lightest of all of them. It's just the most comic booky, I guess. Maybe that's not. It's not more comic booky than the Avengers, but it is certainly lighter. It's more fun, I would say. It focuses more on fun than giant set pieces. And in fact, there's very small set pieces in this, like micro set pieces, which I thought were great.
Yeah, really, really well done. But I guess it's also the fact that this is actually just a person who just puts on a suit like Tony Stark, and that's basically where his power comes from. So other than that, he's just a nobody.
Right.
So I think it's been a long time since they actually focused on. I mean, Captain America, sure, he's a guy, but he's got superhuman powers because of the serums and the super soldier project. But Scott Lang is just your average run-of-the-mill cat burglar who just gets given the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yep, exactly. And you know, one of the things that Marvel's been consistently doing with its films is taking lower tier characters and kind of sticking them in the forefront and showing that even the lower tier characters, like Ant-Man is not a very popular Marvel character. I mean, he's had several iterations. Right. I mean, Hank Pym is most notably a wife beater in the comic books. I'm not sure if you knew that whole storyline.
No, I did not know that. I only knew of the fact that he was Ant-Man and was the creator of Ultron. So
yeah,
that's about it.
In the comic books, Hank Pym is the main Ant-Man. He's who most people think of. But I guess for the movies, they probably didn't want to go there with the whole domestic abuse type storyline, and they kept that in the Marvel universe. They never like retconned it out or anything like that. It stuck, and it
might have been too serious for the MCU.
Yeah, they clearly wanted to make this kind of a light, entertaining, fun movie, but I have theories behind how they did things, because in this film, Yellow Jacket is the villain, who in the comic books, Yellow Jacket is not a villain at all. In fact, it's Hank Pym. Hank Pym becomes Yellow Jacket after he stops being Ant-Man. So,
and wasn't it that Scott Lang was actually someone who stole the suit and then was committing crimes, and then Pym had to come out and stop him and then eventually recruited him or something like that?
Yeah, he ended up working for Tony Stark as a security person for Tony Stark. So that's how the whole Scott Lang thing fit in there. But I'm thinking that maybe they had Yellow Jacket be the villain to show kind of show that the dark side of Hank Pym, maybe even as kind of like a little fan service thing, because you know, he's not he does a lot of bad things in the comics. So maybe this was their way of kind of keeping that in there without actually making him a horrible, that character of Hank Pym a horrible person. They were like, oh, well, we'll just take the bad things that this character did and we'll create a separate character out of that, you know?
Yeah, they also effectively made Pym and Darren Cross two sides of the same coin, because Cross just went further than where Pym stopped, and Cross picked it up, and he pretty much is where Pym would have been had he continued with his research.
Yeah.
So it was to say he would have gone bad.
Yep, and that's that just kind of goes along with my theory with the character of Darren Cross being created to kind of be the other side of that coin with Hank Pym, which is cool. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I like the idea of Ant-Man fighting another villain that can also shrink. I wasn't, I don't know, the character of Yellow Jacket, I wasn't huge on him, but thankfully...
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way that I felt about Jeff Bridges' turn as the villain in the first Iron Man, where I'm like, hey, it was cool, and then when they fought, I was like, I already saw RoboCop 2. I don't need to feel that again. But
that's...
It kind of got the same feel here, but it made sense that they had to have villains who, a hero and a villain fighting at the same time. It would just be weird if they were fighting Ant-Man against
a regular person. Yeah.
Or a regular person.
Yeah, I think that it allowed them to do more fun things with the fights, when they were shrinking, and the fact that they can shrink and go back to normal size kind of on the fly. It made the action scenes more fun to watch, and it was cooler. I liked that they kept in a lot of the whole ant thing where he can control the ants, and that was a big part of a big part of this movie. That him learning how to control the ants to do what he needed them to do. I like that they kept all that stuff in there. I really don't have a whole lot of criticisms against this movie. I guess maybe I wanted more of him being small-sized and doing different things, but that's a nitpick, really.
Yeah, my only real qualm was that the villain was good, not like fantastic or anything. It was serviceable for the story, and I guess my main issue was the whole subplot dealing with the fiance cop. And Judy Greer, the ex-wife, and how that just unfolded. It just seemed like clearly he was there for comic relief, but they already established that the comic relief was Lang's crew, so it felt like a superfluous storyline that I didn't think was effectively paid off at the end. I was like, all right, it didn't destroy my enjoyment of the movie at all, but I just felt like they could have done more with that, or made it less stereotypical than it already was.
Yeah, absolutely. I could agree with that. Maybe they'll have more with those characters down the road. I mean, this is an origin story after all, so that a lot of this felt like, they were establishing the characters, they were setting up motivations and connections and all of that stuff.
And speaking of origin stories, I think this is like the first one Kevin Feige was saying, we're not doing any more origin stories.
Oh, well.
Like really heavy, intensive origin stories. So it feels like this one really like a abbreviated version of the origin of Ant-Man, because everybody going in was like, wait, Hank Pym is Ant-Man, and then we already just give snippets of him as Ant-Man. And it's it's already established he's Ant-Man, we know, and they just told you all you really need to go on to see Scott Lang as Ant-Man. So I'm thinking this is the route they're going to take with other characters.
Yeah. And I mean, really, all they had to do was have Scott Lang agree to be the new Ant-Man, show a montage of him learning the suit, learning the powers, and all of that stuff, and that's it. You're good to go.
Yeah, which is pretty much what they did.
The rest is just moving forward the plot of the heist, which is in this film, and then also developing the relationships that he forms with Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, and everybody else involved, and the character stuff, which
kind of like when I saw this, I haven't had the opportunity to see it again, but it felt like, not to say it's The Incredibles, but it felt like The Incredibles, where it's just a slow build, but once they got to that island, it was on, and you were just jazzed from that point on.
Yeah.
So watching Ant-Man, it was a slow build. I'm like, yeah, okay, that was cute, that was funny, that was cool, that was cool. But up until the heist begins, that's when it really hits its stride and doesn't stop until the end.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, I love heist movies, so as soon as I realized, because I didn't know that that's what this was going into it. I mean, I knew from the trailers how that Michael Douglas kind of makes Scott Lang the new Ant-Man because he needs him to steal something, but I didn't know. I thought that was just like going to be the beginning part of the movie. I didn't realize that essentially the whole movie is centered around this heist and preventing Corey Stoll's character, Darren Cross, of developing this technology and then selling it to
But the way the heist unfolds, they really effectively show just what kind of an asset Ant-Man would be in situations.
Yeah. So, and I think that that's something important with a character like Ant-Man, is to show his worth. Like, oh, it's a guy that can shrink to be an inch tall. It's not like he can shrink down so far that you can't see him. He's still there. And it's like, okay, well, how would he be an asset? And I think that they really did prove that he is an asset and can be an asset in this movie, especially, I don't know, maybe this is a spoiler. I'll say that he gets there's a really cool fight scene, probably about the midway point.
I would say that for the spoiler section, because I didn't know
that was going to happen yet. Okay, there's a particular fight scene about the midway point that's really awesome and really shows off what he has the potential to do in this. One like kind of thing, it got under my skin, and this is probably another nitpick, but it just bothered me. There's a scene where Darren Cross, Corey Stoll's character, he puts on the yellow jacket outfit for the first time, and when he does this, there's so much going on. It's chaotic, it's hectic. He has to do it real fast, and he immediately knows how to control the suit and everything in it perfectly. And I just felt like, I get that they had to do it that way, but I feel like if you put on this suit for the first time, you'd be fumbling around. You wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't know how to use it effectively. Maybe you don't even know how to shoot the guns properly or aim them. Because we went through this whole training montage of Paul Rudd learning how to use the suit when Corey Stoll can just hop in his and use it perfectly right off the bat.
Well, I guess he's had all that time to design it, so maybe he just knows that he just couldn't apply it because it didn't have the correct formula. That's all. Maybe that's all he needed. So, or maybe that's something that's covered in a deleted scene. Who knows?
No, maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe that could be something that was lost in a rewrite, because there's how many screenwriters on this?
Quite a few. Well, that
4 or 5?
that was the thing that I was kind of surprised that this actually, it works pretty well for having that many people, having their hands involved in it. And now I read some interview or reviews that were comparing this to Edgar Wright's films, and they were kind of saying that the final product of this does have some shades of Edgar Wright in it. Did you see any of that?
Not entirely.
Yeah, because
I was like, no, not really.
Yeah, because I wasn't really seeing a whole lot of Edgar Wright's influence in this either.
Because I can't even tell you if this was still Edgar Wright, if it would still be the same movie one that we saw, and or whether it would be as good as or better. Who knows? But it's like, sure is, because I saw the footage that they screened at Comic-Con a couple years ago, and that technology and how that thing is done is pretty much the same as they carried over into the main film.
Yeah, that was the gun footage, right, when he runs?
The gunfight, yeah, the gunfight. But, yeah, I mean, overall, I don't see his fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, so I'm not sure. I mean, the comedy, if they were referring to the comedic aspects, all of that was there. I love the banter between Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas. That was great. I loved all of that stuff. I liked... now, I didn't even know this. This is just a slightly off-topic thing, but at the beginning of the film, it takes place in, I think it's 89?
Yeah, I think somewhere.
89. There's a scene with Michael Douglas as a younger Hank Pym, and I thought that was all just makeup. Like, I didn't realize that they actually digitally altered him to make him look younger.
That was the most. I saw it in 3D, so I haven't seen it in 2D, so I don't know how it holds up or if you can see the seams. But I was like amazed at how they were able to de-age him, because I think back to Tron Legacy and how the
young Jeff Bridges.
The young Jeff Bridges looked so
fake. He
odd.
looked CG. He looked incredibly CG.
He looked CG. He looked odd, but this one is like, that looks like Michael Douglas.
I didn't even know. Like
from Black Rain.
Yeah, like I didn't even. It was so seamless and so perfectly done that I just thought it was makeup. I just thought that they, layered some makeup on him and dyed his hair, and all of a sudden he was younger.
I mean, I would like to see the behind the scenes, because maybe that is actually Michael Douglas performing the part, and then they just digitize him down 40 years.
Yeah, I think it was the same.
Or 30 years.
I think it was the same team that did Captain America. The effects with Chris Evans to make him look skinny and
but even then, still had a tinge of CG. You can tell, but I guess that they advanced that, and that was only 4 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah.
I was like, did a really good job on that. I was like, whoa! I was like, already right off the bat, I'm like, wow, I can't believe they pulled that off.
Yeah, I was surprised. I found that out after the fact, and I was like, what? That looked really good.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until I read an interview with Michael Douglas and saying he looked pretty good for for playing his part 40 years younger.
Yeah, that was crazy. What did you think of the team of that he had with Michael Pena and David Dastmalchian and T.I., his crew?
I thought they were really funny. They were really good. They pretty entertaining. I guess you just have to take it with a grain of salt that they know what they're doing, because they're like pulling off some crazy stuff. But they just turned out to be ideal comic relief, and Michael Pena just like practically stole the movie.
Yeah, I thought they were all really funny. I think even T.I. did a really good job. He was really funny. I
just find it funny that David was the crazy psycho guy from Dark Knight that Harvey was interrogating.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, oh, that's what is it?
I just saw him in an indie film called Animals recently, and he did a really good job in that. He played a drug addict, but he was really good in that too. So I like that guy. I liked that whole team. I liked the dynamic with them. I thought that they were effective as the comic relief. Michael Pena got a little bit on my nerves towards the end, but no big issues.
Yeah, there was a lot of stupid, silly stuff. That's so much in the character, so.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I can't think of anything else that I want to talk about that's non-spoiler related. Do you want to just hop into spoilers? Do you have anything else to add?
I guess the only person who left out was Evangeline Lilly, who's Hank Pym's daughter, and she's actually quite good.
Yeah,
and
I think
especially in the emotional scenes for the heart of the movie, it was the whole heart of the movie is basically father-daughter relationships. That theme is carried well throughout the entire film.
I liked that whole like underlying story between the two of them, and the fact that they were kind of estranged, and they were trying to repair their relationship and all of that with I like that they incorporated his wife in there and told her story and all of that too. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that Hope Van Dyne, that character, is actually a villain in the Marvel universe. So they did some switching around of things with her, but
I think I also read somewhere that Scott Lang's daughter Cassie actually becomes a heroine herself. So I'm like, such a small world. I'm like,
she does. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to talk about some spoilers. So I'll have the time code in the show notes. So if you haven't seen the film yet, if you don't want it spoiled, go ahead and just skip right over this part. All right, spoiler time. I guess the first thing, the big thing, is the two stingers.
Yeah.
These were actually very substantial stingers at the end. I mean, normally it's one that's kind of teasing you of something to come, and then the other one is usually a jokey one, a throwaway kind of thing.
Right.
But both of these were actually pretty significant. So the first one was revealing that Evangeline Lilly is probably going to become Wasp, the new Wasp. There's a scene where Hank Pym shows a new suit that he was working on for his wife before she disappeared into the microverse, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But the overriding arc for Hope Van Dyne is that she really wants to take action. She really wants to put on the suit, but Hank won't let her because Hank lost his wife, the Wasp, on a mission because of the suit. So, and he doesn't want to lose his daughter to that too. But then he finally realizes she can hold her own and she can do it. So, looks like she'll take on the mantle.
Yeah. So she'll be
team up with Scott.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. So she's going to be Wasp, presumably. I think that's great. That's awesome. It does seem like, kind of going off of that, it does seem like there's going to be more with Hank Pym's wife in this, because they make a point.
Yeah, it seemed like he was towards the end, it seemed like he was going through the thought process that maybe there is a way to get in there and get out. So maybe they'll go back to that. It seems
like he's going to go in there and try to find her, because they never show her face. There's a picture that they show with the three of them, and she has her face covered up with a hat. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, well they're doing that in case they want to bring her back. And then
I just had a random thought. What if the next one turns out it's Kathleen Turner?
That'd be awesome. I think it'd be
or Sharon Stone.
I think it'd be hilarious. Oh, Sharon Stone, I could actually see that. I could see that. Kathleen Turner, I don't really see that happening, but
well, it could be age or something.
Could be. I would love to see Kathleen Turner. That'd be hilarious. But it does seem like they're setting it up for him to go in and try to find her, because he seemed to be like asking him questions about how he got out and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to bring that back at some point, or they're at least leaving it open for the possibility to bring it back.
And also the fact that Hydra escaped with the Pym particle. So.
Yep. So
that's floating out there.
We discover later on that Darren Cross was planning on selling the technology to Hydra, so they get a hold of it. So I'm sure that they're going to be doing terrible things with it now. And the second big stinger is it's involving Falcon and Captain America and Winter Soldier, and Bucky, and it's pretty much alluding, at least it seems like it's alluding to Civil War, and I think it's straight up a scene out of Civil War. Oh, it could be, yeah.
Because there's no real context to, there's no real context or like a teasing or anything like that.
Yeah, there was no.
It's like
it definitely.
Because you know how like in other ones, like when they introduced the twins at the end of Winter Soldier. That felt like a clear cut. Okay, this is a tease for the next one.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel it, but this one definitely felt like it was just a scene that they.
Yeah, it was like a vertical slice of some scene. Yeah, definitely. I think so.
And then they tease how we'll get to it, but there's a fight with Falcon where Falcon is the first Avenger to see what Ant-Man's capable of.
Yes.
And then they're talking about Rogers and Falcon are talking and. Like saying, I think I know a guy.
Yeah.
So and then the movie ends with the cue card. Ant-Man will return.
Yeah. So it seems like Ant-Man's going to be recruited on Cap's side of the Civil War, which I probably could have guessed that anyway.
But the scene is interesting because it's not the first time that Rogers sees Bucky, because he saw him at the end of Winter Soldier. And it doesn't seem like it's the first time he's seeing him since then, because it didn't seem like he had that big of a reaction to seeing Bucky again, because obviously he must have run across him before. or something.
Yeah, it looked like maybe that's like after a fight or something, because he was out of breath. It looked like he was out of breath, but he was also like he had his like hand in a vice or something. Like they were interrogating him or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Bucky finds something out and has some intel for them or something.
Yeah, I have to go in and get it. But was it yeah, it must be something really like important that they would need Ant-Man to go in and infiltrate and steal something.
Yeah.
So
I'm just
that you could go on a whole show speculating.
yeah, I Civil War, I don't know. Just the fact that they're containing it to just Captain America and keeping it contained into one movie. I don't know. It seems like
I have a feeling they won't do that. I think they'll carry threads into like all the movies.
Well, yeah,
following,
I mean, I hope so.
They'll come to a head in Infinity War.
But it's just interesting to me because Civil War involves everybody. You know, like it's not just Captain America versus, you know, it's not just Captain America and Falcon and the people that have been established in his standalone movies versus a villain. It's everybody versus everybody. It literally is a civil war with the heroes.
Characters are getting their introductions, and Black Panther. I don't know if Doctor Strange will be in there.
He should be, but I
imagine he will be. Spider-Man will be in there. Peter Parker. I don't know what form he'll take and how long he'll be in there. But there was a slight tease too. The web crawler in the movie where and they're saying it's like a journalist was saying, oh, I got stories about guys who can walk through, like do this, guys can do that, and guys that can crawl and walk up walls. I'm like, oh, it's like nice little hint there.
Yeah, so basically, like after Falcon gets in a fight with Ant-Man, he kind of starts digging and ends up talking to this reporter who may know something about Ant-Man, and she alludes to Spider-Man, and I guess I read that they weren't even like that was just supposed to be a fun little thing that they wrote that in before Marvel got a hold of Spider-Man or before the deal was set, so it just worked out really nicely for him.
And speaking of Falcon, one of the biggest surprises with me was the appearance of the Falcon.
Yeah. The fact that he was in it.
But even better still was there was a scene where Scott has to infiltrate a warehouse to get a piece of tech from Stark that they need, and Tim was going off old intel, and when Lang is going in there to get in there, he discovers that it is now the Avengers' new base, which I was not expecting. I just started dying laughing, and then when he gets there and he's like, I don't feel good about this. He's like, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to find it. It's like, oh, don't worry, they can't. That Falcon comes swooping in, like because he's detected something, and he's like, don't worry, he can't see me. I can see you.
Yeah.
And then you have a unexpected introduction where he goes, which you see in the trailer, but it's out of context because it makes like they're making the exchange between Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man, but in fact the exchange is between Ant-Man and Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
Because like saying it's like, oh, I'm a big fan, I'm Ant-Man, and then they get into a big fight, and it really shows how he can take on an Avenger and win.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's like just a great dynamic. It was a really great sense of humor, really funny, and it was like really cool. And then it's like in the end, it's like I'm thinking it's like, so that's his introduction to the Avengers. So that'll work.
Yeah, I was surprised that they even had that. Like I figured that they would put in a couple tie-ins here and there, like offhanded references and things like that, like the scene.
Yeah, which they did. Yeah, like Tim's like saying like, oh, they're probably just dropping a city or something.
Yeah, like they did do that, but I didn't expect to see any actual Avengers in this. So that was a nice surprise. I was really, especially because they fought too. You know, that's an even better a better treat to see them fight, of course. But yeah, I liked all of that too. I'm trying to think of some additional spoilery type stuff.
I guess two of the funniest, one of the funniest bits I remember for the original trailer was the whole Thomas the Engine collision. So that was one of the funny beats where Thomas suddenly becomes giant.
Then crashes through the house.
Giant Thomas. But the other one was cute, but got a little too cheesy. Was with the ant because all of a sudden I just started thinking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It reminded me quite a bit of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, actually, which I know that, I mean, it wasn't referencing it or anything, but it just reminded me so much of that. I guess just because...
I guess the cheeky thing about it is it becomes a pet, but I guess it's okay if Lang is using his Bluetooth to end them and can control that ant from eating his dog.
Yeah, I mean, like, wouldn't he have to constantly be controlling it, or else it would just go...
Yeah, I'm like thinking that thing could like bite your daughter's head off.
And imagine how strong it is too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's supposed to be able to haul 800 times its own weight. So, and that thing is now 5 feet long.
Yeah,
running around like the size of a dog or something, however big it is. So that
I don't know. That was
huge.
I found that to be just kind of like a goofy throwaway
it's a
gag.
throwaway, but
it was kind of silly. Overall, though, yeah, lots of fun little Easter eggs and stuff like that. I know that there are some other ones thrown in there here and there, but I'm sure I didn't pick up on all of them. I think I did read an interview with Peyton Reed that said there's at least 3 Easter eggs that the internet hasn't found yet. So, but that was a couple days ago, so maybe they've found everything since then. I guess there's a scene in a lab where Hank Pym is kind of going over the technology with and the plan with Scott Lang, and there's like all kinds of miniature things everywhere, and apparently there's some Easter eggs hidden in there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, gonna have to watch that again. Look around the screen.
You know.
And did you see it in 2D?
I saw it in 3D at the IMAX.
Yeah, so did I. That 3 was actually really good, especially in the shrinking sequences.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in just a second. Did you have any other spoilers that you wanted to go over before we get out of this?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, I can't really think of too much. I mean, it pretty much ended the way I expected it to. Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne did kind of hook up there at the end, so I'm guessing that they're going to be a couple for whatever is next for them, which I think could be really funny if they're kind of like a bickering superhero couple, you know, fighting crime together. I like that idea.
Which would be kind of a different dynamic from Wasp and Ant-Man from other. My knowledge of the Avengers was from the Disney cartoon series. So
yeah, it'll definitely be different, but I think it'll be pretty fun. So, all right, let's go ahead and end our spoiler discussion. Welcome back if you skipped ahead. Now, you were talking about 2D versus 3D. Both of us saw it in the 3D, so can't really say which is preferable, but I will say that it looked pretty damn good in 3D. I don't normally... The whole concept of 3D kind of lost its luster to me, so if I can choose, I usually go 2D at this point. However, it just worked out that it was at the IMAX in 3D at the time that I wanted to see it. And here in New York, if it's a big movie like this, you got to go reserved seating. So that was available to me. So I don't regret seeing it in 3D though, because I think a lot of the stuff looked really good in 3D. Like I think the 3D really worked in this movie.
Yeah, I think for me, I saw it in IMAX 3D as well, but I didn't get to see it in IMAX Laser 3. Which,
no, I didn't.
For my money, is still the best 3D.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the Laser 3D
out
either.
there. Yeah, because I don't even think it. I think it's only open in like four cities. Yeah, Laser 3D only exists in 4 cities, and that's with the Chinese, and I think or the other 3. But the Laser 3D, IMAX 3D is better than regular 3D because it's brighter. Takes away that whole shading effect, and so I didn't get to see it that way. So maybe next time I see it, I'll have to see it that way to see if I can really say if the 3D is really good or not.
Yeah.
But I still think it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think it also looked pretty good for post-converted. There were a lot of scenes that kind of lent themselves to the 3D effect. You know, like a lot of the stuff, like when he was shrinking and stuff with all of the, like running through the ant colonies and stuff when he was training and all of that.
Yeah. Or even when they're running through the mainframes, and the mainframe
Yeah.
looks like a city.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was like going. So I'm like thinking, I remember seeing those bits in the trailer. I thought those were buildings in the background. I was like, no, those are all like computer chips. And
Yeah,
stuff.
that was cool. And the scene when he first shrinks down in the bathtub and how everything's giant in the bathtub and the water comes down. I thought that all looked cool too in 3D. So I'm always hesitant to recommend seeing a post converted film in 3D because by now most of you know what to expect with those. But if you're trying to decide, I'd say check it out in 3D if you don't mind spending on a few extra dollars. And I always choose IMAX if I can, of course.
Which looks great in IMAX because it's full screen IMAX. So
Yep. Although the IMAX that I went to, I went in Times Square, and they didn't have that. I don't know if all IMAXs have I don't know what the status of the whole Dolby Atmos thing is. If IMAX theaters do IMAX theaters have those now? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Dolby Cinema, Dolby Atmos is their own thing, so it's completely separate. But I think Dolby Cinema uses the same tech as the laser projection, but they have yet to show something in 3D, so I don't know what the holdup is. So they've already had 3 major films in there, but they haven't shown anything in 3D yet, so I'm wondering if they're ever going to shoot something in 3D.
There's a couple theaters here in the city that use the Dolby Atmos technology, and for me, I would rather see it with that than a screen that's a little bit bigger, because that sound is so good. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it really, to me, it's more immersive than 3D, because with 3D,
I saw Terminator Genesis in Dolby Atmos, and that actually made the movie better than it was.
Yeah, same here. So did I, and it was awesome. How with stereo and surround sound, you can hear things coming from behind you and stuff like that. But with this, everything is so amplified. Like the sound is so precise that it's so much more immersive than 3D. Because with 3D, at least for me, after 10 minutes or so, I kind of don't really see the effect anymore because I'm just kind of in the movie by that point. And I don't really pay attention, that's sticking out of me, But with when the sound is that good,
the Dolby Cinemas, but the Dolby Cinemas, I don't know if you have any Dolby Cinemas out there yet, but the Dolby Cinemas actually have transducers in their seats, so it's the rumble share basically.
That's that's how they do it here. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 theaters that I can think of that have it, but
the one out here, their screen is the same size as the IMAX screen, which is on the other side of the theater, So if I had my choice, I'd go Dolby Cinema. But I'm waiting to actually see a 3D movie in there to say if I'm going to go with Dolby Cinema or I'm going to go to the IMAX of the Chinese.
Yeah.
So.
I saw Fast and Furious and Jurassic World, and Mad Max in that theater. And every one of those experiences was so much better, and Terminator, because of that sound. But anyway, enough gushing about theater tech. Ant-Man, overall, enjoyed it. I'll say it's probably my maybe 4th favorite Marvel movie. I still like Guardians more. I still like Winter Soldier, and definitely the first Avengers and maybe the second Avengers more than Ant-Man, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'd put it right in the middle of the pack. I mean, for standalone movies, it's definitely up there with Guardians and the first Iron Man.
It's at this point, there's not a whole lot that's surprising about these Marvel movies. The wow factor has kind of worn off. So at this point, they're kind of at the mercy of the story. Really, they need a really strong story and characters to push these, because by this point, this is what, the 11th one or something?
Yeah,
10th or 11th.
Yeah.
So
maybe 12.
Yeah, I mean by this point, we've seen a lot of superhero stuff, and
Yeah.
with this one, I felt like it was different enough to be entertaining and fun and enjoyable. Nothing, the wow factor wasn't off the charts for me, and none of the big action set pieces like blew me away necessarily, but it was still a really fun ride, and I definitely recommend seeing it for sure.
Yeah, I think it did pretty well. I think it's like 58 million opening.
Yeah.
Can't complain for an origin film for a character that no one really knows. So.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely good.
And interestingly enough, at my screening, they showed the trailer for Force Awakens, and crowd went nuts. Applause at the end.
Yeah, same here actually.
And then the last trailer they showed was the shortened theatrical trailer for Batman v Superman. Crickets.
With in my screening, it was they showed the newer one, the longer one, but. Yeah,
oh really?
But.
Yeah, I definitely noticed they either sped up or just like shortened scenes, but I was like surprised the reaction was negligible. I'm like, nobody did anything.
I
wow,
think people.
Do you play Marvel hard?
I think I'm in the same boat as a lot of people when I say that we're kind of nervous about that movie. There's a lot of red flags being thrown up with that movie. It could be great. I hope it's great. Batman is still my favorite comic book character. I love Batman. Yeah.
I mean, I got the same feel I got after seeing that last Man of Steel trailer, and then I saw the movie. So now I'm thinking it's going to be the same thing, but I really like what's going on with Batman. But
I'm just worried that they're going to make.
I don't
want them to make Batman an idiot. Like, that's my big thing. Don't make Batman an idiot. Don't make him be easily manipulated by Lex Luthor or anybody else. Just, he's the world's greatest detective. Make him that. Don't make him stupid. I feel like that was the one nagging problem I had with the Nolan trilogy, was that I felt like he wasn't nearly as clever as he should have been.
Wasn't being the world's greatest detective.
No, I didn't think so. I didn't think so at all. I don't think they ever did it right in regards to that with the live action movies. I think with the animated films, they get those right with it, but
yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, like I said, I guess you could say DC was given notice. It's like, hey, look, these Marvel crank out like a space opera with characters no one's ever heard of, and just crank out a guy who can shrink down to an inch and fight bigger guys, and they turn out to be quality films. What do we got to show? Nothing yet.
Well, and we'll see. I think that I'm actually a little bit more excited about the Suicide Squad than I am Batman v Superman at this point, because I think it's going to be harder to screw up Suicide Squad, because the stakes are a lot lower with that movie, and the characters, other than the Joker, are fairly low level characters, and I think that it's just I don't know. I'm just really excited about Suicide Squad.
Yeah, my concern is that they spend too much time getting origin stories to every single character, and the whole mission ends up being the last act.
I hope that they don't do that. I don't think they will, just because there's so many of those characters. There's a lot of characters that are brand new to the movie universe, so I don't know if they'll spend a whole lot of time.
But there was something I picked up in the Superman trailer, was that Bruce tells Alfred that for the last 20 years it's been nothing but good guys. So that means over the last 20 years, Batman put all of those villains away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I can get that. But who are these people?
Well, hopefully it'll turn out good. With David Ayer, he's kind of a hit or miss director for me. I really liked End of Watch for the most part. I really hated Sabotage. That was like one of my most hated movies of the year last year. And I liked Fury. I thought that was okay. I think that he's an interesting choice for that film. I think he's a good choice for that film, looking at his other movies that he's done. But I don't know. I don't want him to go too nuts with it.
Right.
I don't want him to deviate from the comic book universe too much either. Don't make it that. I mean, it doesn't look like he really can, especially when you have like Killer Croc in there and stuff. So it looks like there's going to be at least a little bit of a comic book vibe to it.
Hopefully.
But we'll see. Anything else regarding Ant-Man? Now, you gave it an 8 out of 10 on the site.
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
Pretty much now, I don't think there's anything Marvel can screw up.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I mean, we already know who's playing the character, with the exception of Captain Marvel. We already know who's going to be playing the next major heroes being introduced, and I anticipate those being just as good as these last few.
Yeah, I think that that Doctor Strange is going to be really interesting. I'm glad that they're working on a Doctor Strange movie. The Inhumans, I never really knew too much about them from the comics, so I don't know. There's a lot of places they can go with the Inhumans, but I mean that's a whole team.
That's the only one that really is a concern for me, because I've kind of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've kind of lost a lot of interest in. So I kind of stopped watching mid-season, and then when they started introducing Inhumans, I'm like, wait a minute, Inhumans, aren't those supposed to be not coming out till 2020 or
yeah,
something?
They're getting, I think.
So are they going to be carrying on this storyline for the next 5 years until the movie comes out?
Well, at least in the comic books, the Inhumans are like an entire race. They're like an entire civilization of people, basically. So I'm hoping that what they're doing is they're introducing the backstory and how the whole Inhumans thing works and who is an Inhuman and all that in the show, just so they don't have to do it again in the movie.
Well, that runs the risk of losing an audience, because they're not going to know who anyone is.
Yeah, no, I thought about that too, and I'm sure that they're going to at least have to recap it at the beginning, but I don't know. We'll see how that one goes. All the characters in the Inhumans are not particularly interesting to me, although Captain Marvel is an Inhuman, so I'm sure that that's going to tie in somehow. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see about that one. That's the only one that I'm a little iffy on too. But with the announcement that Elektra and Punisher are going to be in the new season of Daredevil, that's awesome. Can't wait for that.
And waiting for them to announce when Jessica Jones.
Yeah, what's up with that? They're
that.
already talking about Daredevil season 2, but they have the whole Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones. Where are they at?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Jessica Jones has already started filming. I remember seeing set photos. So
hopefully those will be coming out soon. I'm especially excited about the Iron Fist one, and but I mean more so with Punisher, because I love Punisher. So all right, well, so you gave Ant-Man an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna give it I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I thought that it was a lot of fun. Didn't blow me away, but it was still incredibly entertaining. Had a really good time with it, and another success story for Marvel. Now we're
no small feat.
Now you mentioned that you took a look at the box office numbers. Is this how's this doing this year?
It did 58, which would put it at the low end of the spectrum of opening weekends for the MCU. But it's still in the same. It's only like $5 million off of the ballpark for what the first Cap did and the first Thor did, and did just a little more than the Incredible Hulk. So.
Yeah, hopefully some word of mouth will get that boosted up by the second weekend, and hopefully it'll do well this summer.
Yeah, hopefully it does a decent amount, because the next it's got to go up against Mission Impossible. So.
Yeah, well, it should do okay next. Next weekend is Pixels.
Mission Impossible is the end of the month. Next week is Vacation, I think.
No, I don't think
that'll have much of an impact.
This coming weekend is Pixels and Southpaw, and then the following weekend is Vacation, I think.
And Mission
Impossible, yeah.
I think we'll have some time to get something going.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ernie, for taking some time to nerd out with me.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk about. Let's talk about the Wolfpack first.
All right. Wolfpack it.
So this is directed by Crystal Moselle. I have a synopsis here. Hold on, I got to pull up the synopsis. I'm terribly unprepared. Locked away from society in an apartment on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, the Angelo brothers learn about the outside world through the films that they watch. Nicknamed the Wolfpack, the brothers spend their childhood reenacting their favorite films using elaborate homemade props and costumes. Their world is shaken up when one of the brothers escapes and everything changes. Now, I saw this at Tribeca this year. Loved it. Wrote a review. Talked about it a lot since then. And then I noticed that you saw it, Kevin, here. And I'm looking on your Letterboxd.
Wait, what?
And you're giving it a 2.5.
Correct.
So let's get into that. What is your reasoning behind the 2.5 on the Wolfpack?
Well, I don't know what the hell the Wolfpack is. Like, I don't understand the point of the Wolfpack. I don't know what they were going for here. You know, my understanding going into it, which, you know, this is kind of my fault, but I thought it was all about them being obsessed with movies and reenacting movies and the props and everything. But they only really discussed that for like a total of like 10, 15 minutes maybe. Then everything has all this domestic drama stuff going on, but they don't really even get into that at all. They don't really delve into anything in this movie, and then towards the end of it, they just like fast forward through a shit ton of stuff, and then they're at an orchard and it's over.
Well, I think that criticism is valid. I think that a lot of the other reviews that I read said that there were things that were either implied or started skimming the surface of this movie that were never really expanded upon. And I think that is a valid criticism, but first of all, that didn't really bother me at all, because I was thinking about the way in which this woman was allowed into their home and allowed to make this movie about them. And I imagine that she was trying to be very careful of what she had in the documentary and what she was kind of implying with the documentary, because there's some clear abuse going on in this family.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't outright say it. At least I don't think they do.
No.
But it's heavily implied. But that didn't really bother me. I found the film just to be kind of a fascinating portrait of these brothers.
Well, I think this movie definitely gets by on the subject matter, but as an actual documentary, I don't think it's. I wish someone else made this, because it's beyond fascinating. And honestly, I wish it was a lot longer, because there's just so much going on here.
Right.
And I think that would have helped a lot, because it seems like she just kept jumping around. Like, we're talking about their obsession with movies and everything. That's where we start out. And the next thing you know, it's about, you know, the oldest one, how he left the building and got arrested and everything. And then we're talking about that for a little bit. And then we jump to something else. And then we're jumping to the father and their childhood and their upbringing. And then all of a sudden, one of them moves out and gets an apartment, apparently. But we don't discuss that at all, even though I thought that's like, I think that's a pretty huge step.
Well,
But we're just like, hey, they're moving an IKEA couch. All right, move on to something else. And it's like, holy shit, wait, one of them moved out and has his own apartment? What the fuck is going on? And then next thing you know, we're just at an orchard.
Well, there was some other things that happened before that, but it was it jumped back and forth, right? It was footage of them kind of describing their childhood and their upbringing and their background, and it was mixed in with stuff that's happening to them currently.
Which the footage that they have from their upbringing is better than anything I've seen on any of the VHS movies. It was more terrifying than anything in the VHS movies. Yeah. It was beyond unsettling.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So maybe we should talk a little bit more for people that aren't too familiar with this movie and what it's about. So basically, like it says, and just to expand on the synopsis a little bit, these kids grew up in a very small apartment in New York their entire lives. And they're like, I don't know, I don't remember how old the oldest one is, but they range from probably like 16 to 20, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. I'm terrible with ages.
Yeah. And
somewhere around there.
And they've just lived in this tiny, and they're never allowed to leave the apartment.
They got out sometimes.
It was,
they talked about it a little bit where they're like, what I think they said the 1 year was the most they got out was like eight times, and then there's other years where they get out 0.
Yeah, some years they weren't even allowed outside at all. Their parents were Hare Krishnas, right? And I believe their reasoning was that they were afraid of the city. They were afraid of the violence and the crime, and they were trying to protect their kids.
And that, oh man, I was so confused by that, because he's from South America and she's from the Midwest.
Yeah.
So why the hell did you move to New York in the first place?
Yep.
Except that later on the father's like, oh, it was to make some money, but his whole thing was to get back at the government. He doesn't work. So what the hell was his plan?
Well, he's a deadbeat. Like, let's be honest. That guy's a complete nut job deadbeat. But it was so interesting to me at how well adjusted these kids were for having no socialization whatsoever. Like, they did not interact with other human beings, and you can tell it was interesting because they knew that they were kind of maladjusted. They knew that they didn't have the social skills that they sort of need to make it in the world.
Yeah.
And they were so self-aware of this, but they at the same time they also seemed very intelligent. A lot of them, a lot of the older brothers that they interview throughout the film seem very articulate, and that kind of surprised me. And the level of creativity that they put into their movie reenactments and detail, creativity and detail.
The kid that just does the scripts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They watch movies and they pause them and write down all of the dialogue word for word and essentially recreate entire movie scripts and then reenact them. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. And the entire, again, the Halloween sequence.
That was
that was creepy.
That was very bizarre.
That was creepy as shit.
And it seemed very unsafe too.
Extremely unsafe. You should not be burning anything inside apartments.
Yeah. They're lighting a rather large fire, fire in their apartment.
It's just embers all over the floor.
Yeah.
In costume, dancing around. My oh my.
Yeah. But I found each of these brothers to be very, very fascinating on their own. And the story of how they eventually escaped from this apartment, and then like the one did it, like you said. He went out, he got arrested because he wore a Michael Myers mask. And he was just kind of exploring the city with a Michael Myers mask on. And they arrested him. Now, he said that he wore the mask because he didn't want his dad to recognize him. But I have a feeling if his dad saw that, he would know right away.
Yeah, I
mean... so after that happens, it kind of plants the seed. And all of a sudden, all of them want to get out and roam around. And I like the scene when they first went to the movie, which was right in my neighborhood, actually, and they went to the beach. I liked that.
I just love the idea of how the one was so excited, and he's like, I play him, or he plays me, or whatever he says when they come out. Because what did they watch? Was it a Tarantino? No, it was David O. Russell. It was American Hustle.
Oh yeah. I just love I loved his analysis with the tickets, how he bought the ticket and that money is going directly to the director and all that stuff. How
that is the thing he's most excited about.
Yeah, that was just like such a big deal, and I find that to be fascinating. It's like I don't know, it's like one of those movies where somebody wakes up from a coma and it's 30 years later or something, or somebody's, I don't know.
It's like opposite world.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited about giving money to David O. Russell.
That's the most interesting thing. It's like all of these things that we take for granted every day, and it's the small things too. It's these little minute details of life that are seemingly meaningless to us that they experience. They're just like, what?
I know, but I still found it weird because they still get, it makes more sense to me if they never got to get out.
Yeah,
But they did.
But from what they were saying, they went to like the park that's outside their building. Like it seemed like the amount, the frequency, and the length of time that they were allowed to go out was so minimal that it was pretty much inconsequential when you look at the grand scheme of things.
Some things just didn't add up. Like when the one kid's talking about words that he didn't know about.
Oh yeah.
He went through the whole thing of like, and then he said the N word, which is like, no, sorry, you watch a shitload of Tarantino, you've heard the N word before. Don't try and play that on me.
Yeah.
I think he just likes using the N word.
I'm not so sure about that.
Just some things didn't add up for me.
Yeah, like I said, I see those criticisms, but it wasn't enough for me to. I was still completely fascinated by the whole experience.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I wish it was a lot longer, because I feel like 80 minutes is just, it's not enough. There's entirely too much going on here.
Well, one thing that I wanted a little bit more explanation on was the girl, the friend that he makes, that comes in and he has her in the movie that he makes and all of that stuff.
Well, but that, not only that, the sister.
Well, the sister, I think maybe they didn't want her involved because she was mentally ill.
Perhaps.
But yeah, it would have been nice. I think that maybe that was one of those situations where the director was kind of just trying to. I think maybe that this is one of these movies where the filmmaker's a little bit too close to their subjects. I think that this could be an example of that, where she basically became friends with this family. Yeah. And I think that maybe she held back on certain aspects in order to protect them.
Well, and I think also too, some things came up because of the film. Like, I'm more than likely, my guess is it was her idea to take them to a movie. Like, oh, we have to get this for the documentary.
Well, from what I understand, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that movie scene was a reenactment. I mean, it was real, but it wasn't the actual first time that they went.
Gotcha.
I think that there are some parts of this that are kind of reenactments.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that is one thing to consider too. I found that out after I wrote my review and stuff, but it still didn't really affect
I mean,
how I felt about it.
Documentary's been doing that since the beginning of time. I mean, Nanook of the North was a reenactment, so
right. And it doesn't
not that big of a deal.
It's a reenactment, but at the same time, it's kind of not, because the experience it is real what we're seeing. You know, it's not acting or anything, but it's just skewed a little bit. Yeah, I still recommend going to see the Wolfpack. I originally gave it I think a 9.
Woo!
It's really up there for me. It had a pretty big impact on me when I saw it. So,
I mean, I recommend it because it's utterly fascinating. Just as a documentary, no, leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, I can respect that.
I'm tough on my documentaries. I don't know why.
I know you are.
I don't know why.
If it's a really good story, I'm much easier on them as far as technique and aesthetic and stuff like that. And we'll circle back to that later on when we do our watch list.
Uh-oh.
Let's go ahead.
Did you watch that General So's documentary?
No.
I think that's on Netflix, by the way.
I think it is, yeah. But I might watch it. I don't know. We'll see how bored I am. All right, what are you going to give the Wolfpack?
I'm going to give the Wolfpack a 5.
5, just middle of the road.
Just middle of the road.
That's a shame.
Subject matter, 10. Execution.
Now, have you seen any of the reenactments that they've done that they release online, like the Wes Anderson ones? And
I think I'm I maybe saw. Didn't they do one as like a thank you when they won an award at a film festival or something? I
Yeah,
seem to
they've done a few. They've done quite a number of them actually now by now.
because I think I saw that one.
Okay. You should check out some of the other ones that they did cuz they're good. They're really funny and those guys are really clever. I mean,
They are.
I liked the prop gun that they had that was basically made out of paper and tape and how it had the clip that you could reload and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of ingenious.
I mean, their Batman costume was fantastic.
Oh, they're yeah. Yoga mats and cardboard, and it looked that good. I mean, it was like so detailed.
It was fantastic.
The layers of armor, oh, it's great. So, Wolfpack, check it out. Let's move on. Talk about Alleluia. So, this is written and directed by Fabrice Duels. I think this is an adaptation of something, right?
Yeah,
Book-
the
book or-
honeymoon killers based on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that explains a lot then. Well, it's funny because I was watching it.
Loosely based or whatever.
Well, I was watching it and I was like, oh, okay. This is just like, but anyway. I have a synopsis here. Michelle, a murderous womanizer, meets introverted Gloria online and treats her to a whirlwind one-night stand, offering herself as an accomplice in his seductive crimes. The unhinged lovers embark on a deadly odyssey, amplified by wild sex, unbridled jealousy, and passionate forays into the dark arts. This smart and glory shocker breathes new life into the lovesick horror genre to serve up a chilling tale of white-hot desperation and terrifying devotion. I will start this one off by saying I was not into this movie.
All right. Complete agreement right here.
So we go from polar opposites to being on the same page. I mean, it starts off with quite a bang. That opening scene before the title even comes up, where she's wiping down the dead body. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be an intense movie. But if you know how I feel, like my pet peeves in movies, the things I don't like in movies, when you see this movie, you'll understand there are just some things that I don't like. I don't like it when people act ridiculous and uncharacteristic of human beings, and I believe that's how this Gloria character acts in this movie. She is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it is completely unbelievable in every sense, and from the moment that whatever switch goes off in her brain, I just completely tuned out. I was like, I'm just not buying this at all. And I thought that they were going to do some kind of elaborate, Gone Girl-esque thing where she's kind of setting him up or something.
Yeah.
But they didn't really go there with it. I mean, you could probably, you might be able to draw some kind of conclusion from the ending, but just, it is very violent. That's one positive that I will say about it. I know that makes me sound horrible and morbid, but the gore looked really, really real.
It was kind of tough to watch.
It was extremely disturbing.
That axe murder. It's
Yeah.
just entirely too realistic.
Again, this is a topic that we're going to circle back to on my watch list, but that was one thing that really impressed me. And I think that more movies need to have realistic violence like this, because when they do it in a realistic manner, it affects you.
It's
It's not just something where you're just like, oh, that's kind of gross or whatever. It kind of rattles you when you see something like that. And in this movie, and the kind of extended scene where she's sawing the foot off, it looks so real. I was like, oh my god, it looks like she's really sawing that foot off.
Yeah, it's disturbing. When it gets violent, it's fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Overall, though, I didn't like either of the characters. I didn't find either of them compelling. I didn't care to watch them. I didn't.
Well, number one,
they weren't very charismatic.
I'm completely on board with you regarding Gloria's character. She she didn't make any sense whatsoever. I didn't understand any of her motivations, any of the decisions that she makes. I don't understand any of it. And maybe even more with the Michelle character, I don't understand him either and the decisions that he makes because he doesn't even seem like he wants to be with Gloria.
No.
So why is he doing any of this?
And every time she does something, he clearly doesn't want her to do it, but he's like powerless to stop her. And it's like, dude, just say no. Don't do that. Don't kill that person.
Just leave.
But they add this kind of surreal mysticism to it as well.
Which makes no sense.
Almost as if we're supposed to believe that the reason that Gloria is acting this way is because she's under some sort of spell. Because at the beginning of the film, before Michelle and Gloria meet, they show him doing some sort of ritual with her picture. And I don't know if maybe that is something that we're supposed to believe where, you know, he literally does put a spell on her where she's kind of obsessed with him. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
He doesn't do that with anybody else. Any of the other women.
Well, and I don't understand. The synopsis says that he's a murderous womanizer. But
well, he's not.
He doesn't murder anyone.
No, he's not.
Until comes a point when it does happen, but
he is a womanizer, but he's just kind of like he's just a harmless hustler. Yeah, he hustles women for their money.
Yeah. He's just doing the hustle.
There's no murder involved. There's no physical harm. She's the one that brings that to the table.
Oh, and she brings it.
Oh, and she brings it hard, yeah.
Oh.
And a lot of the times, I didn't quite understand their marks. You know, like the women that they were going after, because half the time it seemed like they got nothing from them.
Well, it's because Gloria always jumped the gun.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that was pointless. You got nothing by doing that.
Well, that was kind of, I don't know if that was unintentional or intentional, but it's kind of a comedy that way because, like, they have this elaborate plan of how to hustle these women out of the money, and it never gets past, like, the first step, which is because Gloria just can't take him having sex, which makes you think, like, okay, this is not working. Come up with another plan, because the one that you guys are trying to use is not working, because she gets insanely jealous.
Yeah.
So let's try something
literally
else.
Insanely jealous.
Like, maybe just kill people and take their money. Just be straightforward about it.
Just rob convenience stores. You'll be better off just robbing places.
Just break into their house and be like, I'm gonna kill you. If you don't give me all your money, you get all their money, and then you kill them. I don't. Their plan is terrible, and it's not working ever.
Yeah. One other positive I'll say about this movie, I generally liked the cinematography and the look. I thought it looked pretty good.
The lighting was fantastic. Especially, I think it was the second one, the second murder. Mm-hmm. The way it was it was just all lit with that knocked over lamp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that.
That was something. There's a lot of, okay, now let me just be completely honest with this movie. It's a fucking mess. And there's a singing bit, which, what the hell was that? What did you think of the singing bit? What the?
I don't know. There were several sequences in this movie that I thought were completely unnecessary. That weird, surreal dancing.
That was hilarious.
Ritual thing. It reminded me of, Natural Born Killers. Actually.
I don't know. Was that supposed to be funny? Because I thought it was hilarious.
I don't think it was supposed to be funny. It was terrible.
He's doing all sorts of things. He's like licking people's faces. That old woman keeps licking her face.
Yeah.
That was weird. That was something. There's that singing bit again, which that's when it just completely lost me. Like, it had me by like a thread because it looked good and the sound design is pretty fantastic as well. But she starts singing for no reason, and I just sat there with my hands in the air, like what the fuck is happening? And then he's doing like all of a sudden he's obsessed with Bogart. And he's doing all the Bogart faces.
Yeah. Now, I might have missed this, but in the film, Gloria has a daughter, a young daughter.
Uh-huh.
What happened to
No,
her?
she just dropped her. Yeah, whatever.
Because because the next scene, they're on the run together doing their little.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did she just leave the daughter? She
Yeah.
just left home and left the daughter there alone?
Because she has important things to do. That's why she like dropped her off with her friend or whatever.
And I also thought it was really inappropriate the first night that he was there and spent the night, and the way that they were acting around her daughter, and
Yeah.
like making out and being like, "Hey, let's go in the bedroom for 5 minutes," and all this stuff. It's like, your daughter's right there.
Yeah.
She hears and sees everything you're doing.
Terrible mother. Terrible mother. An efficient killer. Terrible mother.
Yeah, I would say she is an efficient killer. Yes.
Much better than the guy is.
Well, yeah.
He had some trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He had some trouble.
That's all I really have to say about
This
Alleluia.
movie makes no fucking sense. And it's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess.
But it's a wholly obsessive terror.
I guess. I mean, there's positives, but overall, no. It's just not.
It's
not happening.
If you want to call it a horror movie, it's not the worst horror movie I've seen this year by far. If you want to call it a thriller, again, probably not the worst thriller I've seen this year. It's I didn't enjoy it. I was glad when it was over.
Oh, same here. Yeah, yeah. It was really losing me.
And by the end, I was just like,
It was almost as it was making it a point to lose me.
I did like the climax though, the final confrontation. You already touched on it with the axe and just that whole sequence. I liked all of that stuff.
But still, yeah,
it was a lot more energetic than.
That was terrifying. That was
Yeah.
messed up. I mean, the effects work on that, they're top notch.
Yeah.
They look like they killed someone with an axe.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see. Let's give this one.
The thing that, because he just wanted to sleep with the woman, and he ends up drugging Gloria. And it's like, if you're at that point, just like drug her, and poison her, and just because it just seems like the only thing this guy wants to do is just sleep with people. Like he has no intentions of.
He just wants to sleep with women, make a little bit of money doing it. Just live his life, laid back.
Yep.
Also, it seemed like he was having a pretty genuinely good time with that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like he actually liked her and wasn't just faking it. Like he seemed like he was getting along with the daughter and that they were having a really good time.
Well, plus their whole plan of them being brother and sister, just that was not believable for a second. It's like why is that part of your plan? It's not working. I just don't understand it. They're just terrible. They're terrible at what they're doing.
When she snapped or started to snap there towards the end, and there was a scene where they're playing Twister, and there's this thing that she's imagining that she's seeing, and that was I didn't think that was necessary either. Like we already knew she was unbalanced. We don't have to see some kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was like a jerk off type blowjob scene or something. It was liquids. Liquids are involved.
Yeah, this is the mess. It's the absolute mess.
Unfortunately, this one wasn't up my alley. I was not on board with this one.
And there's several times in this movie where it's just unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's unintentional. Hard to take some of it seriously. All right, let's go ahead and give this one a score. I will say... I didn't even think about this. I'll say, man, it's tough because I thought it looked fairly good and the effects work was quite good. So I'll say like a 4.
That's what I'm thinking. Thinking a 4.
Give it a 4.
I'm gonna go 4. I mean, the cinematography was good. It was a bit much at some points in time. It was a bit too shaky. And
there were a lot of
too tight. I mean,
especially on the kind of surreal, dreamlike scenes where it was just spinning around and moving everywhere.
Oh, when it's followed, because it would always be tight on a character's face, and it just kind of followed them around, quick movements and stuff, and man, that got nauseating.
Yeah. There you have it. Alleluia in select cities right now. and actually I don't know if it is playing in theaters. It is on VOD, but I'm not sure about if it's in theaters right now.
Just not sure. Now, have you seen his other movies? Because he's the one that did that. Oh shit, what's it? Calvaire.
No, I haven't.
Because I heard that that's supposed to be pretty good.
I don't think I've seen that.
Which I didn't know was the same guy.
Nope, I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go ahead and talk about something we're watching. Kevin, we'll start with you.
I finally got to see Timbuktu.
Okay. Wait a minute. I thought you already saw that.
Moving on.
Oh, no, never mind.
I just want to stop it there. I finally got to see Timbuktu. Oh, okay. And then you just move on to what you saw.
How was it?
It's pretty good. It's up, it takes place in Timbuktu, and it's under Sharia law, I guess. Jihadists come in, kind of take over the town, and they gotta, they implement all the rules and everything. They have to, and it's just kind of episodic where it follows a couple of people. There's sort of a main story of a guy that gets into like a cattle herder gets in confrontation with this fisherman and everything that happens there. It's really, all things considered, with it being about jihadists and how terrible they are and the hypocrisy and everything, it's really a soothing, calming movie. All things considered. It's very relaxing. Very relaxing. Even, when they're showing two people being stoned for adultery, just something about the desert and the language that they speak. It's so calming. It's soothing.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
But there's some. It's a little bit of everything because there's a lot of drama. There's some comedy though, and there's just some black humor too when it comes to the rules that they're implementing and enforcing, because they just don't make any sense and they're so ridiculous. And there's a guy that shows up and just he wants a young girl to be his wife, and just everything that takes place there is just, it's so confusing that is happening. That in 2015 that's something that still happens.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's good. It's serviceable. I wasn't blown away or anything. There's not like unbelievable cinematography. The acting's fine. It's a decent movie.
Okay. And Timbuktu, how's that available?
I got that DVD.
Okay. So it's probably available on other streaming services as well. You can get it on iTunes for $3.99. It looks like, to rent.
Ooh.
I'll start with the circling back to the documentary thing.
Here we go.
I saw two documentaries this week. I'm going to do them both together because they're both similar in a way. The first was Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh my goodness.
Both of them have ridiculously long titles. So this is a film about, the title kind of describes the entire thing. The Dr. Moreau movie from the 90s, the one with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was like, Brando was painted in that white makeup, and it was just really weird, and there were all these weird animal humanoid creatures and stuff. Well, Richard Stanley, the director Richard Stanley, he was originally going to be doing that movie, and then he got fired. And this kind of talks about the movie that he would have made if he was left on the project. And it also is sort of a behind-the-scenes telling of this nightmare of a film shoot and how crazy Marlon Brando was and what a dickhead Val Kilmer was. And it's just it's a crazy, crazy story. And I like these behind the scenes documentaries about how movies got made and the weird things that happened and all of the crazy drama behind them.
Yeah.
and this is kind of a perfect example of that. It's insane, and I highly recommend checking it out. The reason that I mentioned it when you were talking about is the Wolfpack not being an exceptionally well-made documentary. This movie's not exceptionally well-made. It looks old, even though it's new. It just kind of has that remember when DVDs were first coming out, and the ability to put bonus features onto a DVD was a new thing, so they started making these kind of cheapo looking behind the scenes bonus features and stuff. That's what this kind of feels like.
Yeah.
But it's still quite an interesting watch, and I do recommend it. Just don't expect a high level of visuals and things like that. The other one
did
was...
Did anyone check, like, is this actually like a DVD extra of The Island of Dr. Moreau?
Oh no, I don't think that they would ever do that, because they say a lot of bad stuff about the film, the people in the film, the making of, just a lot of bad stuff, a lot of negativity around that movie. But it's quite interesting. The other one I saw was The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened. And this is a documentary about the creation of Tim Burton's Superman movie with Nicolas Cage and why it never got made. And it's directed by John Schnepp, the guy who did Metalocalypse.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, because of that, he's in it a lot. Like, he's one of these... It's one of those documentaries where he kind of inserts himself in it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too much. The quality of this movie is pretty bad too. In fact, it looks like a TV show. When it first starts, John Schnepp is on this like stage, and there's these monitors behind him, and it looks like a TV show. It's not very good. But again, this film is very interesting because they got so far along in making this movie. I mean, they were days away from shooting. They had the thing storyboarded, they had the script finalized, they had the cast, everything was ready to go, and then the plug got pulled. So this is just about why the Warner Brothers pulled the plug, and what happened. And it's interesting to see how ideas from this movie ended up in Superman Returns, which was the one that they did actually make, the one with Brandon Routh, and then also Wild Wild West, of all things.
Really?
Yeah, that movie Wild Wild West. There were ideas from this that were put into that. And I also didn't know, I didn't know a lot about the whole Superman Lives thing, and I didn't know that Kevin Smith wrote a draft. They hired Kevin Smith to write a draft of the script, and so he's in the movie, and he talks a lot about what his version was like, and there's interviews with Tim Burton, and he talks about what it was going to be like and stuff, and there's tons and tons of concept art and footage. There's a lot of footage of Nicolas Cage in the Superman suit, and they talked about how the suit was going to work and all this stuff, and it's pretty interesting. I recommend it, even though, again, not very high quality. And this one is available. You can buy this now, and it is I think it's just available on the website. So I would just, if you're looking for it, just type in The Death of Superman Lives, and you'll be able to find the site for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth a watch.
Yeah. I watched one on their Netflix Instant, which is When Evening Falls on Bucharest, or Metabolism. This is from the director of Police Adjective. And pretty simple film, 89 minutes, and it's just one of those films about making a film. The director who ends up faking an ulcer, he's got like 2 weeks left on the movie that he's shooting, fakes an ulcer, buy him some time, because he's getting in a romance with the lead actress of the film, and he wants to prolong it a little bit. And they discuss numerous things. They discuss like shooting film and shooting digital. They discuss food and how eating utensils affect the food that you make, different cultures and such. The end, the end of the movie is basically just footage inside someone's intestinal tract. So
Ooh.
there's that for a while, because he has to prove that he had a procedure done that, showed that he had an ulcer. And it's just the majority of the movie is him with the actress. They're rehearsing a scene that they're supposed to be doing, which is her showering, getting out of the shower, and then she overhears a conversation, and it affects her. So they're walking through this scene numerous times over and over again, and he's really meticulous, and it's all kind of shot with steady or static shots, and he's a long take guy, and he's very into realism. So, she will dry her hair for 10 minutes, and then he's going to film 10 minutes of her just drying her hair. And then all these things. And it's really interesting to watch. It's one of these things that it doesn't necessarily feel like a great movie. It feels like an exercise that's just really interesting to watch. It's just like someone trying out something that, just an experiment, and it works. I don't know if it's something that's like, yeah, Friday night I'm going to sit down and watch When Evening Falls on Bucharest or Metabolism. Can't wait.
Hmm.
Pop me some popcorn.
Yeah.
Get me a Pepsi. No, you really have to be in the right mood to watch this. But it's very interesting, and I do like him as a director. Very interesting work.
Cool. And that's When Evening Falls on Bucharest or Metabolism. I like how I said that because it made it sound like it's all like just one statement.
And it's the scene that they're rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing, it ends up playing out in just their regular lives. So you get to see it as, all that kind of thing. Parallels
Yeah.
and whatnots.
Yeah. I get you.
Get that.
I'm not gonna bother with this one. It sounds pretty droll.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have fun with your behind the scenes documentaries about fucking
I will.
movies that never got made.
I will have fun with those and enjoy them for many years to come.
Fuck those movies.
Again, that's available on Netflix Instant. I saw one on Netflix Instant as well.
Oh shit.
And
Netflix getting a lot of play.
again, I'm going to circle back to when I was talking about the effects work in Alleluia. This movie has incredible effects work, and that's Irreversible
Holy shit.
by Gaspar Noé.
Damn.
Wow. So I knew about this movie. Most quote unquote cinephiles know about this movie from 2002 for being infamously hard to watch.
Oh yeah, that rape. There's a rape, right? It's got that rape in it.
There's a rape in it that is, I believe, the longest rape scene I have ever seen in a movie ever. I don't know how long it is, but it feels like it's 25 minutes long.
Mm.
I read that when they shot that scene, the only thing that Gaspar Noé said was just keep it under 20 minutes. No other direction at all. Just keep it under 20 minutes. So that's kind of the interesting thing about this movie, is that there was a 3-page script. So it's almost all completely improv, all ad lib, and the film is presented in reverse chronological order. Okay. So it's the end is the beginning, and it goes on from there. Now, when I first started watching it, I was thinking to myself, how's this going to work if you show the big climax at the beginning of the movie? And because then won't the sort of end of the movie, which is actually, the beginning of the story, won't it be a little lackluster? Won't it kind of not work because it'll be ending on a down note? Because it'll essentially be introducing these characters who we already know, and we already know what happens to them. But it actually, I don't know how to describe it, but it works so well within the context of this narrative. It really works. And because you know what's going to happen to these people. You've already seen it happen. And the fact that you have already witnessed what happens to them or later on in this evening, it makes it more awful. And by the end of the movie, you're just like, oh my God, the world is a horrible place. I want to just get in bed and never emerge from the covers. This is an incredibly difficult movie to get through, just because that's just what I feel like that's what Gaspar Noé does. Like he challenges his audience to watch, and it has the best opening title sequence I've ever seen. I think maybe one of the best I've ever seen. It is awesome. It's simple, but it's awesome.
Now you make me want to. I'm gonna just watch the opening credits and then just stop. Is that cool?
Yeah,
I can do that.
You could.
I can do that.
There are two overly horrific scenes in this movie. One is the rape scene, which we've already discussed, which is brutal. I mean, just brutal. Hard to watch. I had to avert my eyes several times throughout because it was just awful. Just awful. And there's a murder that occurs, and it is so real looking. I almost felt sick watching it. It was... I can't even describe it. I'm not going to say what happens, but if you're into violence, this is such a realistic portrayal of someone being killed. It really, really affected me. And I watch a lot of gory movies, a lot of horror movies with people getting murdered in very, very crazy, creative ways. And this was like, oh my God, I had to look away from that too because it was so intense. But the thing about Gaspar Noé is that his camera work, his cinematography is always so unique. It's like the camera has a life of its own, and that's what happens. This movie's also one of these. It's a single take movie. There are no cuts in it. Of course, they're masked.
You got the mask cuts.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like all the cuts are very obvious. It does the same thing every time. So when we're transitioning to an earlier point, you know that it's going to happen because they do the same thing where they kind of move the camera. The camera starts floating, and then you go like up in the sky, and it looks up in the night sky, and then comes back down.
Yeah.
So it also kind of lets you know, okay, now we're jumping back in time.
Yeah.
And it's a hard movie to recommend just because of the subject matter, but at the same time, it's a very confrontational movie. Like, I read that for the first 30 minutes, which is unbelievably intense and horrific, the first 30 minutes, and that's before the rape, by the way, the first 30 minutes, he put a 28 hertz tone in the soundtrack that's inaudible to human ears, but it's known to cause vertigo and nausea.
Oh, that's cool.
So he kind of deliberately wanted you to feel... And, of course, during this time, the camera is all over the place. All over the place. It's spinning. Everything is so close up. It's moving so fast. And that's the thing about this movie is that it is going at 100 miles an hour the entire time. The conversations are really fast. The camera is moving so fast. The people are moving fast. Like, everything is so quick in this movie. But, you know, it opens itself up for a lot of criticism, but at the same time, there's just nothing like it. I've just never seen a film like this before. So, are you
generally a fan of Gaspar Noé?
No, I'm not. I'm actually not. I only saw Enter the Void, sorry. I haven't seen any of his other stuff.
Okay.
So,
because you didn't like it, Enter the Void either, right?
No, I didn't.
Because I
didn't like it at all.
That movie.
Yeah, I hated it. I wanted to turn it off. I got through the whole thing because I was kind of thinking that they were going to go somewhere with it, but I hated that movie. So, Irreversible, I think, is a million times better. A million.
Okay.
But it's still really hard to watch. It's probably one of the most difficult movies I've ever seen.
Okay. All right.
Netflix Instant, though. It's on there.
Oh boy.
Just don't watch it. Yeah, don't watch it on a date.
Yeah, it's probably a
Don't
good
watch
idea.
it with a parent.
Just watch it alone.
Just
I think
watch
it's-
it alone. Just watch it alone.
Okay.
Don't watch it on the bus or on the subway.
Yeah,
Avoid that.
that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a couple other ones that I'd
Oh,
like
shit.
to mention real
Get
quick.
into it.
Trainwreck. Saw Trainwreck
All
yesterday.
right, how was this?
Judd Apatow. You know, I don't know. Maybe Judd Apatow just isn't. I thought it was funny, but I wasn't laughing a lot. And I realized that I'm pretty sure I've said that about a few of his other movies where I find them funny. I find them entertaining and funny, but I laughed like maybe half a dozen times. It's funnier than most comedies, I guess. It's got a good laugh ratio, I would say. But I wasn't over the moon for this movie.
Yeah, that's
It's
kinda
pretty much
s-
exactly what you would expect.
gotcha.
It's Amy Schumer being Amy Schumer, and it's a romantic comedy. It goes exactly where you expect it to go. The hills and valleys are all pretty much, by the book, paint by numbers romantic comedy. It's much funnier than your typical romantic comedy, obviously. And there's a shitload of people in it that do cameos and stuff. We were talking on Ryan Watches a Movie last week about LeBron James being in it. He is pretty much just in it for those scenes that we see in that one trailer.
Knew it.
But he is quite good. Like, he's actually a pretty decent actor, and he's really funny in it. So, John Cena is really funny in it. Surprisingly funny. And you do see him naked, which is a little disturbing.
Did that ruin your day?
A little, yeah.
John Cena naked.
Yeah, a little disturbing. Colin Quinn plays their dad, which was kind of interesting, and he has MS in it.
Who's dad?
And he plays Amy Schumer's dad,
Oh, okay.
Colin Quinn.
All right.
And Brie Larson plays her sister. So he was really funny. Vanessa Bayer was funny. There was a lot of SNL cameos in there, sprinkled in. But again, like most Judd Apatow movies, it was very long. And there were things in it that I felt could have been completely eliminated. Like there's a scene where the one dude from SNL, I always forget his name because he's one of the new guys. He's the really young guy that's on SNL now.
Oh, Pete?
Yeah.
Pete Davidson? I think
Yeah.
is his name.
Yep. That's who I'm thinking of. There's a scene with Pete Davidson that seems completely unnecessary. And that's just one example that I could think of. There are several others. But at the same time, there are certain scenes where it feels like there are characters or maybe side plots that we should know about that have been, maybe pieces of them have been cut out earlier. Like there's a scene with Matthew Broderick, and it just seems like he's randomly in there. And it's like, wait a minute, are we is there some sort of relationship here that we didn't know about that they established earlier that got cut? Why is Matthew Broderick here? And I didn't know who he was, who he was supposed to be playing in the movie, and it turned out that he was playing himself. And I was like, why is he here? I don't understand. And I feel like that's kind of the norm for Judd Apatow movies, really. There's just bits and pieces here and there that don't really fit.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
But overall, pretty enjoyable. Amy Schumer is really, really popular right now. So if you watch her show and you watch her comedy and you think she's hilarious, then you'll find this movie funny. She's a little more subdued in this movie than her stand-up or the show even, but it goes to some kind of raunchy territory, I guess. And there are some genuinely funny moments, so I'd give it a light recommend. I'd give it 3 stars on Letterboxd.
Okay. All right.
So, that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about. Let me look. I did see Boulevard. You can just read my review on that. That's Robin Williams' last on-screen role. He's in a animated film that's coming out soon, but this is the last live-action on-screen performance. It's a drama. It's not a comedy, and he is not funny in it. So it's kind of sad that this is the role that was his last one, because he plays a very sad person in this movie, and
now
it kind of made it difficult.
How do you feel about this?
The movie?
No, with the actors, when they pass away, and because it seems, and I could be wrong, but it seems like we've had like 5 or 6 Robin Williams movies come out since he's passed away, and every single one of them's like, oh, the final movie from Robin Williams. And then like 6 months later, there's another one, and they're like, the final movie from Robin. It's like, how many movies did he make that they're just holding on to?
I think that it's, you mean as far as like,
well, and it's
saying
the way,
that
when
they
way that
put it out?
Yeah.
I don't think that this movie touted that in its marketing or anything. I thought that it was fairly tasteful how they did it. I think it's all just a matter of being respectful to the actor, to the performer, Like, I thought Fast and Furious, they were pretty respectful on their Paul Walker send-off in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of a weird thing, when an actor passes away, either during a movie, when they're shooting a movie, or after it completes shooting, but it hasn't been out yet. Well, I mean, the last Hunger Games movie's not out yet, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that one.
Yeah, that's true.
And they, I don't know if I think that they did add some digital stuff in there with him. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on how respectful they are to the actor.
Yeah.
Like in Boulevard, I feel like they're not cramming it down your throat that this is Robin Williams' last movie.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because the movie's not very good, and I think it's a pretty low budget movie that doesn't have a lot of marketing power behind it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if they had the marketing bucks to push it, maybe they would. But this isn't the type of movie that was ever going to be designed to be a big. It's about a guy in his 60s who decides to shack up with a young male prostitute.
Okay.
And form a relationship with a young male prostitute.
Gotcha.
So.
All right.
Not your typical mainstream blockbuster material to begin with.
True. That is
unfortunately it's just not very good. Robin Williams is quite good in it, but it's a pretty bland story, and the character that Robin Williams plays is he's like a very emotionless character, and I think Robin Williams is actually a good person to play in that role because a lot of his emotion is in his facial expressions, and I think it was a good fit for Robin Williams, but it is kind of a bummer that this is his last movie. It might have been more satisfying to see him go out on like a
bit of a higher note, especially because the last couple of movies that have come out have not been. Yeah, I don't know if any of them have been good.
No, unfortunately not. But Boulevard is on VOD right now, so you can check it out if you wish. Just don't expect much. And if you want to read my thoughts in more detail, I do have a review up on the site. Let's move on and talk about some predictions.
All right.
Last week, Ant-Man. You said 62, I said 72, actual 79.
Okay, all right.
I'm glad to see that that's doing well, because it's quite good.
Is it?
Trainwreck. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trainwreck. You said 74, I said 86, actual 85 on Trainwreck.
Wow.
A lot of people loving the Trainwreck. I mean, the theater that I was in was erupting. People were just hooting and hollering.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm sitting there silent. But then inevitably there's just a little throwaway line or a little joke,
and that's
and I'll laugh and no one else will.
Good stuff.
Whatever. Next week we have Pixels. Now, what's your take on Pixels? What are you thinking about this one? It's Adam Sandler, but it's not. I don't know if it's a Happy Madison movie, actually, or not. I don't think it is.
I don't know. It's
got Adam Sandler and Kevin James, but it seems like it's gonna be better than what we typically get from those guys.
It's a cool idea, but I don't know if it's one of those ideas that's good enough to maintain a feature-length film. You know, the first one, it worked good as a short film because I have a feeling that you're just gonna kind of get tired of that pretty quickly.
Yeah. See, the reason that the short film worked is because it was a short film. It was like 5 or 10 minutes long, and B, at the time, I had never seen anything like that. The way that they animated it, it looked visually really, really cool. How they turned, real world objects into 3-dimensional pixels, and how the physics of that all worked.
Yeah.
It looked really cool.
And again, a lot of it is just hinged on nostalgia, just being like, oh, that's cool, which works for 5 to 10 minute short film.
Mm-hmm.
But to stretch that out, I don't think it's going to work. I think it's just the novelty is going to wear off rather quickly. Probably like 10 minutes into the movie.
So what are you thinking on a score for this one?
I'm going to say like a 32.
I think it's going to be a little bit better than that. I'll say 46 on it. I mean, I'm hoping that it's going to be good. I'm not going to go see it until I hear about it from some people. I'm not going to bother with it unless I hear that it's actually decent.
Gotcha.
Paper Towns comes out next week. It's a young adult.
Sounds like it.
Thing. I'm not too interested in this. I'll say 64 on that.
I'm going to say 60.
Okay. And then we also have Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal bulking up. He looks like a monster in that movie.
Yeah, it kind of looks ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I actually have no desire to see this movie whatsoever.
I have no desire to ever see another boxing movie ever again. To be completely honest, you say boxing movie, I go to sleep inside myself.
I'm not a huge fan. I like boxing movies, but they're a little. I feel like I've seen everything I need to see at this point with boxing movies. You know what I mean? I will say that the teaser trailer for Creed kind of surprised me at how good that movie looks and how much I actually that teaser made me want to see this movie because it's a really good teaser.
Yeah.
So I generally agree with you, but I will go see Creed. Southpaw, on the other hand, I'm just not on board with it. It looks fine, but I don't usually like Antoine Fuqua either. So
exactly, it looks fine. It looks fine. It'll be fine.
What are you thinking on it?
56.
All right, I'll say 62 on that one.
Yeah. All right.
Next week in limited release, we have Samba. We have the Vatican tapes. That may actually be a wide release. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's opening pretty wide. It's a horror film. American Heist, Unexpected, Dark Was the Night. It's another horror film. Big Significant Things, which is a road trip comedy of sorts that I saw, I feel like an eternity ago at South by. 5-Star, and Phoenix, which is a World War II Holocaust movie. Let's see. VOD. Let's do some VOD stuff. Pull up my list.
Pull it.
We have 10 Cent Pistol. That looks like one of those kind of 90s-esque Tarantino ripoff crime caper.
All right.
Dark Was the Night. Capital C, which is a documentary about crowdfunding. The Stanford Prison Experiment, which that's playing a limited release right now. I might go check that out today. Actually, I heard good things. Unexpected and Lucky Stiff. The Stanford Prison Experiment, is that where they had, like, the students, some of the students be guards and some of them be prisoners? Ugh, actually, no, I don't want to see that, man. They've already made a movie about that.
They've made several.
I saw a movie about that not too long ago with, like, I think Steven Dorff was in it or something. I'm not going to bother.
I think I'm trying to look that up right now, actually. Because, there was... Because I watched one a while back, too.
I'd probably be more interested to actually see a documentary about it. But even then, it's like, I already know what happens. All right.
The Experiment.
Yeah, The Experiment. Yeah.
It was in there.
Steven Dorff, isn't it?
No, Adrian Brody. Forrest Whitaker. Clifton Collins Jr.
Okay. I was thinking Steven Dorff when it was Adrian Brody.
Yeah, and then because it's a remake of the German film Das Experiment. So, right.
Whatever.
Yeah, The Experiment was terrible. It was a terrible movie.
Yeah. Next week on Blu-ray, we have I, Madman, which is a horror film from 1989, which I never saw. I'm pretty excited to see that. So I'll be checking that one out. What We Do in the Shadows. It's got a cool cover. Pretty excited about that cover. If you haven't seen that yet, absolutely check that out. Showdown Little Tokyo from 1991 is getting a release. Madhouse from 1974. Kung Fu Killer, the Donnie Yen film. I think that's playing at Fantasia Fest right now. And I'm pretty into that. I like Donnie Yen a lot, so check that out.
Getting yourself amped up.
Yeah. How Ha coming out. I'd avoid that one.
Okay, yeah.
Not on board.
Yeah.
Not on board with that one.
Yeah.
Wild Horses. That's the one with Robert Duvall and James Franco and Josh Hartnett.
I'm going to now have that song stuck in my head.
Wild Horses?
Mm-hmm. It's now officially stuck in my head. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I hate that song.
Well, it's better because it got Prince out of my head.
Okay.
I had Prince stuck in my head for a while. So, thanks, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
A couple other things. Black Sabbath is getting a Blu-ray release. I'm not sure if that was ever on Blu-ray before or not. Arrow Video is putting out Cemetery Without Crosses, 1969. So some decent stuff. And of course, Scooby-Doo meets Kiss.
What?
Yeah. Actually, the full title is Scooby-Doo and Kiss: Rock and Roll Mystery.
Yes.
But it's actually the funny thing is it's actually a new movie. It's new. It's not like it's not the old Scooby-Doo. It's a new one.
Well, it's understand. You got to cash in on that Kiss excitement. I mean, Kiss,
they're back.
The popularity with Kiss right now is through the roof. You got to get in on that.
They're back in a big way.
You can't be waiting around. You got to strike while the iron's hot. Get that Kiss money.
Got any criterions this week?
We have one. It's Stephen Frear's My Beautiful Laundrette coming out. So, there you go.
Have you seen this one?
I have not seen this one. I've never even heard of that movie. I don't think I've ever seen a Stephen Frear's movie, to be quite honest.
I don't know if I have either. What else I don't even know what else he's done. What else has he done? Oh, he did he do like the Queen and what's this? He did High Fidelity. So
okay, yeah. I did
huge fan of High Fidelity.
Well, I don't really remember High Fidelity.
Well, you should rewatch it because
I probably should. I probably should rewatch that. I could go for that actually.
It's an awesome ass. Actually, I want to rewatch High Fidelity now.
Let's fucking get together and rewatch some High Fidelity.
I'll just hop on the train, come over there to watch High Fidelity.
Perfect.
Sounds
Let's
good.
do it.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for the week. Remember to send us your questions to podcastfilmpulse.net. Follow us on Twitter at FilmPulseNet and at FilmPulseKevin. Please take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/FilmPulse, and consider subscribing for as little as $1 per month for Kevin Rakestraw and Ernie Trinidad. My name's Adam Patterson, and we'll see you on Thursday for Ryan Watches a Movie.